You now have an understanding on how to animate a ball that has character. We are going to add a tail to that to demonstrate overlap in this lesson. All right, so now that we have the core motion of our ball, we're gonna add an overlapping tail. This is very, very important just because overlap is there in mostly any animation. There's always going to be some form of overlap. You can think of your hand as overlapping, you can think of your head as overlapping, your chest, your legs. So it's really important to know how to do this. You can make your tail visible by going to the master control at the bottom here and saying tail visibility on and off. We're going to actually leave it off for now. And we're going to make a 2D path at the tail. We're going to go to View, Camera Tools, Grease Pencil Tool. Click on that. It'll bring up this menu. For some reason, my menu is cut off. Your menu probably won't be. But it's not a big deal. Make sure you're on the pencil tool. And we're going to start just making our pass for an overlapping tail as this ball is bouncing. Draw something really simple. It doesn't have to be pretty. We'll go every 2 frames. So this says it's setting the key for the grease pencil. So what the grease pencil tool actually does is that it lets you animate stuff in 2D in Maya so you can just plan out your shot. You can see that there's a little blue rectangle here, and that's an indication of a grease pencil keyframe. So now we're squashing. We can even see the previous key. It's a little bit transparent, so that's very helpful. I'm going every 2 frames, so I'm not going every single frame, just every 2 frames. We don't need it to be an overkill. If you look at it carefully, I'm just guessing how it's gonna break its joints. So we have the whole thing dragging because this is the fastest speed it's gonna go, so it's gonna drag the whole tail. And as we're coming to the top, it's going to start breaking into a more normal shape as it's going across. So we're going to keep following this arc it's creating. The arc concept never really goes away. We're still going to have it keep overlapping even when it's squashed because the tail hasn't gotten to the ground yet, so there's still no momentum changes from the tail. It's still going to carry its energy until it hits the ground, which it does over here. We're going to start breaking it. And then we're going to start coming back down again. Keep following this arc. So this is just my guess. This is me guessing. But what I'm doing at the end here is that I'm just flopping it around. I'm just trying to make sure its momentum stops. So when we play it, we can see that it's overlapping. We're going through and we're coming back down and we're going up and going down and then trying to stop its energy and flop. Because you don't want it to stop all suddenly, because you just want it to make sure its momentum keeps carrying and something is stopping that momentum, which would be the ground. And even then, there's more momentum when it hits the ground, just like our second bounce. If a beaver's tail flops on the ground, it's going to flop one more time after hitting the ground because its residual motion isn't over yet. We can see very clearly that it's overlapping. And now, all we have to do is match this with our actual tail. We're going to go back to this control, make sure our tail visibility is on. I'm going to make sure the size of the tail is a little smaller, just so we can match our drawing. And I already made a selection set, so this all of the tail's controls. I'm going to set a keyframe, and I'm going to go to perspective mode and just start posing it according to what I've done. So now we have one frame, one key. And now we're going to go to the next key, which is on frame 3. So I'm doing this again every 2 frames. I'm just making sure it's staying on the ground. And it's not going to be exact. Just ignore the in-between frames for now. I'm just matching what's going on here. We can make it more appealing than it is currently. This is just this initial pass. Now we're starting to break joints. I'm making sure all the tail keys, all the controls on the tail are set for every single keyframe that I make. And the reason we do the 2D pass is, instead of just doing 3D first, is just preparation. It's so much easier to change a drawing rather than posing this out every time. So I try to do 2D passes if I'm stumped on something. But you saw how fast the 2D pass was done and how efficient it was now that we can just match our stuff. And obviously I can't match exactly just because I didn't draw the exact shape of the tail. You can try to get as close as you want. It's not super necessary. I'm really forcing the controls around, which might not be the cleanest way to go about things, but since I'm trying to match my drawings, I think it's fine for now. And the interesting thing now actually is we don't have to keep posing it out again and again. We can use the poses that we have from previous keys. So we can find this pose and bring it to frame 23. So what you can do is go to frame 5, middle mouse, drag over, and then press S. And then you should have that pose now. And then we can just ever so slightly adjust it if we want to. And same thing for 25. Actually, it looks like we're going straight to this frame for 25, so we'll go to 9 instead of middle mouse. And then 11. Looks like we're going to frame 13 instead. This bounce is a little faster, which means we don't need as many poses when we're going through. And then we're coming back down. I think that's more so frame 17. And now we have to pose again ourselves, because these are new poses now. Quick tip, if you ever think your controls are out of whack, like this is all the way down here when the tail's up here, take all your keys or all your controls and just zero them out. I do have to make sure the scale of the tail is 0.7 again. Oops, I set it on the wrong key. So let's make this key go over here, this key go over here, this key go over here. So now we can see what it looks like without grease pencil. So show, grease pencil off. It looks like I did it in stepped keys, which is okay. We just have to make sure everything's autoed and making sure, since we're in Spline now, our preferences are also in auto, because now every time we set a key, it'll be in auto instead of stepped. Cool. We still have some work to do, but it shouldn't be that much.